Why? It's sweeping the nation. It's Fushigi!
You're watching TVscd. Now back to our regularly scheduled programming.
So we're going to talk about the new
21
Pilots album. It's been about 2 months since it came out, so we've had some time to digest it. I guess we should talk about our history with this band. And,
I remember, like, I first showed you a 21 Pilots song, and you didn't take it that well.
No. Well, at the time, that's when I was like, oh, Radiohead. Yeah, I only like serious patrician music. But my introduction to this was like, of course, everybody heard Stressed Out. I wasn't aware of them pre-Blurryface era. Like, I hadn't heard any of Vessels, which was the album before this.
I had heard a few songs, like, on Vessels, like, in early high school. And I thought some of them were okay, but I wasn't, like, super into them.
So this review is coming from the perspective of, like, two non-fans, just listening to their newest work. One thing that I do like about this album, in relation to Blurryface, is that it's a lot less overproduced. That was my main problem, is like the production on Blurryface always felt like too busy. Like there was always too much going on in the mix.
It's kind of like 2 EPs.
Yeah.
Because like the first like 6 songs all just sound, to me they're the 6 better songs of the album. And then the second half kind of slows down, and that's
where all the like slow burners.
Yeah.
Like
and it has like the few misses for me.
Look, reading into the lyrics, and I feel like this is an album that's going to appeal to people who the people that Blurryface attracted, that just, want the pop music, but also people that are willing to dig into the lyrics, because there is a concept on this album. One that I don't really have a concrete understanding of, because I feel like it's more of like a loose concept. Because a lot of these songs are written from the first person perspective of Tyler Joseph. And then you have this concept with this Nicholas Bourbaki character. Nicholas Bourbaki is this mathematician that invented the empty set, which is a symbol that is used in their stylized version of their band name. And the empty set, of course, is like the antithesis of what a zero is, where the zero is like nothing. The empty set is like truly nothing. It's the absence of anything, which ties into a lot of the themes on this album. I feel like Tyler Joseph was experimenting more with the way that he used his voice, rather than it being like so monophonic.
Yeah, probably Bandito is like the best example of that on the album.
Where not only is the instrumentation building consistently throughout the track, but also the way that he approaches the chorus vocally is different every single time. So for such a simple chorus, it still feels refreshing, and like it has some sense of progression to it.
And he's not just changing it like through the After Effects and like remastered,
like voice modulation and stuff like that. And as much as we appreciate the album for what it is, there are a few tracks that I'm not so hot on, and there's none of them I would say are skippable, because I feel like, because like we mentioned earlier, the album is kind of divided into 2 halves, where the first half is like the more upbeat stuff, the second half is more slow burners and like the cerebral stuff like Pet Cheetah or Bandito. So I feel like they did a really good job sequencing the album, so I kind of feel like I'm doing it a disservice by skipping anything. However, there are certain tracks that just kind of don't do it for me. Nico and the Niners is one of them.
Yeah, that one definitely sounds like the more traditional.
It's the Stressed Out.
Yeah, it's Stressed Out of the album.
Going into this album, I was expecting to hear 14 of this kind of song, but I only really got 2. So they went the whole album without leaning too heavy into that voice pitch thing that they did a lot on Blurryface, and it's super prevalent on this track.
And I don't want to say it's tasteless, but tasteless, but
tasteless, but tasteless, but tasteless. Yeah, it sounds really schlocky. I'm not that into it. Neon Gravestones is another track that I'm not super into. This is one of the tracks where the concept of the album and the first person perspective, like the Venn diagram, is like very thin. And that's what makes it not resonate as much. I feel like on the rest of the album, they were really good about sequencing not just the album, but the tracks themselves, to where it didn't feel like, okay, here's the verse, here's the chorus. But especially on Pet Cheetah, like the song stops, so like the chorus or the bridge can happen.
It gives them time to insert the chorus.
They had like 7 like audio clips in Audacity, and they just like pushed them all together. They're like, that's the song. So Sequencing wise, that's probably the worst track on the album. And even if I didn't appreciate this, and even if it didn't appeal to me, I feel like I would at least appreciate that they're taking their direction and not flipping it on its head, but improving upon it. You know how like Metallica went from thrash metal to blues rock. Like that's a complete 180, and their fans turned on them for good reason. I feel like this is taking the sound that they had on previous albums and previous ventures and pushing it and improving on it and not ignoring your past, but being aware of it, acknowledging it. And that's something else too, where like lyrically they've always been really self-aware, but I feel like they've done it in more concealed ways on this album as compared to the past, where like a lot of the tracks on Blurryface felt like hashtag beatcore, you know?
Yeah.
But it's just the approach. It's all in the approach. Because concept is nothing if you don't have good songs to back it.
Yeah, I didn't think that this album would be good.
Well, guess what?
It was over. It was over before it started. Yeah, I didn't think after listening to this album I would be excited for a new 21 Pilots album already.
Yeah. Where do you think this album is gonna sit for you? Like, is it still gonna be in rotation in like 2025? Or do you think this is a very like, albeit good and well-crafted, disposable album for you? Like, are you gonna be putting more on for your grandkids?
I think it is gonna age better than the other ones because like the other ones just sound like that typical just radio pop.
They sound of its time.
Yeah.
Like you listen to Blurryface and it sounds like 2014.
Yeah, and also this album has so many different sounds and styles that are taken from other genres of music like reggae, hip hop, and pop rock. That if you are into those kinds of music, then,
there's something for you.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of everything in this album.
Yeah.
Not sure about 2025.
We'll see.
You have to, in 2025, leave a comment on what you think of it.
But yeah, this album was alright. I liked it.
It was pretty good.
Let's keep going. It's gonna go up from the, and he's gonna travel up, and it's gonna bump into